2010, Brazil, race 18. Conditions on the Saturday were ever so slightly not good, but as Q3 came to an end, the track was drying, and being out at the right time was critical. For Williams rookie Nico Hulkenberg, this was his time, as the German slapped on the option tyre instead of 1 minute 14.470, over a second quicker than anyone else that day, putting his team on pole for the first time in over 5 years. This achievement topped off what had already been a strong second half of the season for Hulkenberg. A strong second half of the season, despite lingering reports that his seat was under threat from the Venezuelan terrorist Pastor Maldonado for 2011. This was now the perfect result to cement why this guy deserved to be on the grid, and what better way to wind up the weekend than with another strong performance on Sunday. Was a win realistic? Well, no, but a podium? Well, that wasn't off the cards. Well, until the end of lap 1, where it was revealed that Hulkenberg's Williams had all of the race pace for mutilated squirrel. He would end the race at the points, but down an 8th by the flag, and despite it all, found himself with a one-way ticket to the job centre after Abu Dhabi, as Williams did indeed bring on Sadam Maldonado for the new season.
I read an article about before Hockenheim and you said you're very unimpressed with me and basically I'm doing shit.
And no, I didn't say.
Apologies.
A promising Formula 1 career, potentially in the can, just as it had finally gotten some steam. Thankfully, this was a guy who'd won in every series he competed in up to this point, and he'd keep his profile visible in the paddock through a reserve driver role with Force India in 2011. The German's patience paid off, as by 2012, the Hulk was back on the F1 grid, now taking up one of the Silverstone-based team's full-time seats alongside everyone's favourite whiny bitch, Paul di Resta. 2012, Brazil, race 39, and the title showdown between Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. This time it was Sunday that saw changeable conditions. As Vettel decided to attempt his title defense on the hardest difficulty setting, Hulkenberg was on a mission, making up 2 spots from his 6th place starting position by lap 3, and then making it onto the provisional rostrum by lap 5 when his presence alone scared Fernando Alonso into Sao Paulo's city centre. By lap 19, the German was in the lead, and carrying the McLaren of Jenson Button with him, built up a 45-second gap before track debris brought up the safety car and reduced it to nothing. And before you ask, no, not Maldonado's fault this time, he hadn't even made it past lap 2. Hulkenberg still led on lap 48 though, until the damp conditions finally caught him out, ceding P1 to McLaren's Lewis Hamilton, the Briton in his last race for the team before he joined Mercedes the following season, in a decision we all thought was senile back then. That sure aged well, didn't it? The Briton wanted to cap off his time with the Woking squad with a win. Did Nico Hulkenberg care? Hell no. That first victory was not out of the equation just yet, and when Hamilton found a couple of backmarkers on a playdate, the German saw his opportunity, dived down the inside, and proceeded to wipe both of them out of the race. Podium chance, once again out of the window. And you know what? Thank Twitter wasn't anywhere near as popular back then too. My man might never have recovered. 2012 was very much a turning point season in this guy's career though. At one point, it was him on the radar for that Mercedes seat in 2013. When that instead went to Hamilton, Hulkenberg found himself at Sauber for that year, which, for the Drive to Survive viewers watching, wasn't much better than it is now, I'm not gonna lie. What's a far better experience is trying out CyberGhost VPN, and it's a big thank you to them for sponsoring this video. In case this is your first time watching a YouTube video, let me briefly explain how this works. A VPN is essential for protecting your digital privacy, and if you think you're already covered because you only browse in incognito mode, think again. Plenty of eyes are watching you every time you go online, and incognito mode is not gonna cut it. I'll just give you a sec to get your existential crisis out the way. Your internet service provider, your school or work's IT department, even the websites you visit still know who you are and can track your every move. To put a stop to that privacy invasion then, what you need is CyberGhost VPN. Just turn on the VPN before you browse, and it encrypts and reroutes 100% of your traffic through CyberGhost secure servers, so no one will ever know about your online activity. Yes, even that video you were watching a couple of hours ago. It's all really simple, and CyberGhost have service in over 100 countries ready to cater for your every need. I should add, by changing your location, you can also unblock libraries of over 40 streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and many more. That can even open up alternative ways of watching motorsports all around the world. If you want to keep prying eyes at bay and be anonymous online then, now's the perfect time to get CyberGhost VPN, and by using the link in the description, you benefit from an 84% discount and also get 4 months for free. And since they have a 45-day money-back guarantee and access to 24/7 customer support, everything is risk-free for you. With over 38 million users worldwide, this is the most recommended VPN provider on the market. So check out the link in the description, get CyberGhost VPN, and start protecting your digital life today. Once again, cheers to them for sponsoring the video. Anyway, having not enjoyed that Sauber experience very much, the Hulk was back at Force India for 2014. And what a time to make the switch. 2014, Bahrain, race 60. And no chance of changeable conditions this time, evident by the fact that we were in a f***ing desert. This season brought about one of the biggest technical regulation changes in the sport's history, where the traditional V8 power units have been replaced by a V6 turbo hybrid, and some Donny thought it would be funny to mandate all the teams ran boners on the front of their cars for some reason. Well, apart from Lotus, who brought 2 to the party. This was also the season where if you did happen to have a Mercedes engine, you were a very happy boy. Renault had spent all their focus maximising results at the end of the V8 era, and Ferrari had just done Ferrari things, leaving a massive advantage to those powered by the Silver Arrows. This included Mercedes, obviously, Williams, McLaren, and Force India. And while this race is mainly remembered for the pair of works drivers starting the end of their relationship, what's often forgotten is the battle for third that day. That was between the Williams of Valtteri Bottas and the pair of Force India cars, led in the mid-stages of the race by Nico Hulkenberg. The podium once again was in the German's grasp, but an attempted overtake, with all the vigour of a 5-year-old in a sandpit, opened the Force India driver up to an attack from his teammate. Perez would swoop by and go on to come home third as the checkered flag fell. 2016, Belgium, race 107. And following an early safety car due to a Magnussen moment, Hulkenberg once again found himself running in the podium positions. Unfortunately, one of the cars behind him was the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, which, long story short, means he wasn't going to stay behind for that much longer. Hulkenberg still clung on to P4, at that point the third in his career, but that podium still eluded the German, who decided if he wanted to win races, he should join a manufacturer team. Unfortunately, the manufacturer he chose was French. 2017, Baku, race 123, and Hulkenberg is running 6th behind the man he replaced at the Renault team, Kevin Magnussen. At the front of the field, #Bless leads from the German sausage, who got a bit too hot under the collar and thought it would be a clever idea to just drive into the side of his championship rival and pick up a penalty from the stewards. Great news for Hamilton, before his headrest made a bid for freedom, forcing him to make an extra pit stop as well. All this would have opened the door for Hulkenberg to finally get that elusive first podium. Only he'd already luffed out the wall and taken himself out of the race with suspension damage. Luckily for the German, it wouldn't be too long before he was running in the top 3 once again. 2017, Singapore, race 129. Back to the changeable conditions, and having survived the Italian Civil War on lap 1, Hulkenberg found himself in third in the opening stages, God's piss acting as the almighty equaliser under the lights. Unfortunately for Hulkenberg, said piss was soon about to dry up, and we all braced ourselves to see the Renault slowly fall down the order and out of contention. The team then decided just to rip off the band-aid by f***ing up his pit stop on lap 39. On the subject of 9s, 2019. Okay, that didn't make much sense, but Germany, race 167. And would anyone like to guess the conditions this time? Hulkenberg started 9th on the grid, but made up 4 positions on the first lap alone. Perez then started practicing for his stint at Red Bull, bringing out the safety car, and the resultant fracas in the pits saw the German drop back to 6th for the restart. Not to be deterred, Hulk took advantage of a domestic between Leclerc and Magnussen to gain a position and move up to 5th. The Monegasque was next up the road, but that Ferrari was going to be tough to pass. The only good news, that Ferrari was still Charles Leclerc. The SF90 had found the runoff on the exit of the final turn, which doubles as a start line for Hockenheim's drag strip and triples as a graveyard of dreams, as race leader Lewis Hamilton was about to find out when he did the exact same thing moments later. With the second Merc of Bottas also diving into the pits with the resultant safety car, Hulkenberg now found himself in 2nd, already holding the longest F1 career without a podium. This was possibly his best chance since Brazil 2012 to change all of that. And at his home race, no less, never mind he's in the barrier as well. This was brutal, and it was only about to get worse, as come the end of the season, Viva la France decided they wanted a fresh baguette in their team, and Hulkenberg was out of the sport with little chance of driving a Grand Prix car ever again. That dream of a podium was over. Or was it? The COVID-19 pandemic was, well, it was pretty shit, let's be honest, but it let me sink my teeth into this YouTube channel and help Nico Hulkenberg get back on the grid, substituting for the pair of Racing Point drivers as they both came down with the vids midway through the season. 2 points finishes follow, turning Hulk into the first super sub and leading to an extra couple of appearances when the team changed guys to Stroll Grand Prix, the Aston Martin Aramco Cognizant Formula 1 team in 2022. These were less impressive, though granted that Aston was about as aerodynamically efficient as this green wheelie bin that year, and regardless, it was enough for Haas to take the gamble on him as they look for experience heading into 2023. Speaking of 2023, Australia, Race 186, and Hulkenberg finds himself 9th in the closing stages. Nowhere near the podium then, I hear you cry. Well, teammate Kevin Magnussen has a fix for that, tapping the wall, which for some reason brought out a red flag. Yeah, okay, maybe the F1 movie wasn't so unrealistic after all. That gave us a 2-lap sprint to the finish, with the 16 remaining best drivers in the world all appeared to manifest an additional chromosome. The Spaniards wiped each other out at turn 1, the French then did the same at turn 2, when mourning the recent loss of Nicolas Latifi, Stroll had no one to make contact with as he skidded off the track at turn 3. Total chaos, and Nico Hulkenberg was right in the middle of all of it. When the dust settled, the German sat 4th, narrowly outside that coveted top 3, and for once, maybe that was a good thing, as with less than a sector completed on the restart, the FIA identified as clinically blind and forced the order to return before the red flag came out as the cars crossed the line. Hulk was thus shuffled back to P8, and the dream was over again. Race weekends would tick by, and while Nico continued to bring in the results, none ever came close to touching the rostrum. When Hulkenberg then announced he was headed to Sauber ahead of 2025, any final hopes looked over, and the German looked f***ing senile. But, oh, were we wrong? (2025) Silverstone, race 239. Changeable conditions once again, but Hulkenberg was last on the starting grid. Not that he appeared to care. By lap 8, the German was already running inside the top 10, aided by half of the field thinking they'd be good at the dry tyres on the wet track challenge, and the other half having a sudden fascination with British Armco barrier design. Hulk then pitted at the perfect time to find himself 5th for the safety car restart, and with Verstappen putting on his best Black Swan impression, all that lied between Hulk and his first podium was Lance Stroll. Music to the ears of the German, I'm sure, but he was still driving a Sauber, so expectations had to be tempered. He'd make it through on lap 35, though that didn't mean it was over. There were still 27 tours left to run, the track was drying out, and just behind, Sir Lewis Hamilton had a 10-plus year podium streak he kinda wanted to keep a hold of. Just like in Brazil 2010, picking the right time to switch onto slicks would be paramount. Hamilton blinked first, listening to his Ferrari strategy call, otherwise known as a wrong one. That left the door open for Hulkenberg, who just needed a clean stop from a team massively improved in that area compared to 2024. Not that that was particularly difficult, let's be honest. The German pulled into his pit box, and they f***ed it up. Honestly, that tyre changer is so lucky right now. Fortunately, due to Italy earlier saving the day, Hulk still came out with a gap to Hamilton. The gap he maintained, and after 239 races, countless missed attempts, Nico Hulkenberg was a podium finisher in Formula 1. And gets a f***ing Lego trophy. Sorry, I'm still not over that piece of stupid plastic shit. A lot of people out there never saw the talent in Nico Hulkenberg, but that's because a lot of those people are stupid, and this is a man who, when given the right machinery, can challenge the very best on the grid. Unfortunately, he's only had that once in the last 16 years. That was Le Mans, and guess who went and won it at the first time of asking? With Sauber on an upward trajectory, and the full Audi takeover on the horizon, could this really be the only time we see this guy on one of those steps? Well, given all the bad luck he's faced in his career, I wouldn't be totally surprised, but considering how my videos age, let's just say he'll never do it again. Go on, Nico, I believe in you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and got subscribed. We're aiming for 200,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and we're going to need every little bit of help to make that happen. Big thanks to CyberGhost VPN for sponsoring this video as well. Go check them out down in the description below. Last thanks goes out to my channel members and patrons who got this one a day early. If that plus some exclusive content sounds interesting to you, then head over there to help support the channel. I'll be back on the weekend with another video. Until then, have a good one.